All right, welcome class. How's it going? Good to have you guys here. Looks like my camera is a little messed up. One sec, let me finish that. Look like you guys are chatting away right now before our lesson started, which is awesome. Okay. Yep, no, I'm glad you guys got in here and were able to talk with one another. We are going to get started, all right? So to start us off, let's talk about last chapter, chapter 7. What do you guys remember about chapter 7? Josh, Caden, Chloe. Can you guys remember? I'm not for sure what you were typing. Whoa. What is going on? Why are all these messages being deleted? That's weird. You guys should all be fine. Alright, what did we talk about in chapter 7? We learned about some fearsome warriors, right? Who were they? Who were the fearsome warriors? I'm not for sure what just happened, Chloe. With the chat, that was weird. One sec, guys. Maybe something's going on my end. Let me see really quick. While I'm pulling this up to see what's going on with our chat, can you guys let me know what we learned last time? Okay, so we should be good. Should be good now. All right, we're all here, right? Everything good? Able to talk and chat? All right. Okay, let's get focused now, all right? I think I got the chat figured out, so we should be good. Let us talk about, let's review chapter 7. What did we learn in chapter 7? We learned about the Mongols, right? And who they were, the fearsome warriors. Remember, that was your big question. What made the Mongols such fearsome warriors? And why were they so fierce? Can you guys answer that? Josh, Chloe, Caden, you guys able to answer that? Why were the Mongols so fierce? And then who were they led by? Who was their leader? Well, we learned that the Mongols were trained to be warriors at a young age. As children, they learned how to shoot a bow and arrow. And then they were very good at shooting a bow and arrow, and they continued to learn that and hone that skill. And so they're able to be super accurate shooting the bow and arrow, even riding a horse. Hey Kira, glad to have you here. We learned that Chinggis or Genghis Khan was their leader, and he was a very ruthless and cruel leader. What else did we learn? At the very end, we learned that Kubocon became the leader, but he wasn't as fierce and as cruel as his father or his uncles or his grandfather. And that we learned about the Sung Dynasty emperor who they captured. He didn't kill him like his uncle or his grandfather would have, but he sent the child emperor away to become a Buddhist priest. And that's how we ended. So let's jump into chapter 8 and learn a little bit more about this emperor, Kubla Khan. And we're also going to learn about Marco Polo. So let's call attention to the big question, and let's read this together. Why might the development of the postal service have been considered one of Kubla Khan's greatest achievements? So that's your big question, and as we read, I want you to look for reasons and pay attention and look for reasons why Kubla Khan's greatest accomplishment could be the postal service. And that will help you be prepared to answer the big question discussion post. Alright, so let's start reading. Make sure you guys are following along. Okay? If you're following along, you'll be able to be prepared to answer questions and be able to focus on what the answer is for the big question, and we'll be able to have a very smooth lesson, all right? It'll be a lot quicker if you guys are paying attention. You can answer quicker in the chat. If you're paying attention, you might be able to answer the question before I even finish reading it. All right, looks like Chloe's already getting ready to figure out what the core vocabulary is. That's awesome. Good job, Chloe. Those are vocabulary words that we're going to learn. Okay, so let's start off. Let's follow along, starting right here at the very beginning. The great capital. Once Kubla Khan conquered China, he decided to build a new capital city for himself. On the site of Beijing, he built a city and called it Dadu. Here's our pronunciation, Dadu, or Great Capital. A bodyguard of 12,000 horsemen protected the Khan's family day and night. If any visitors thought they could attack the emperor, they got a surprise when they walked into the grand hall where he met the guests. There seemed to be tigers on a platform near the emperor. If you were brave enough to walk up to these tigers, you would see that they were actually mechanical models. Whoa. The emperor had very clever inventors and builders working for him. Some of the Mongols missed their old way of life and the grasslands of Mongolia. To make the Mongols happy, Kubla Khan ordered that huge yurts, remember tent-like things that look like tents. So Kubla Khan ordered that huge yurts be put up in the gardens of the Imperial city. These new yurts were different from those their families and ancestors had lived in. They had magnificent furniture inside. Kubla Khan even sent men up north to collect grass from Mongolia. They planted the grass on an altar in the emperor's palace. So let's look at this picture really quick and read the caption. It says, Kubla Khan built a city on the site of what is now Beijing. That looks really cool. Okay. So now we're going to start getting into our core vocabulary words. Okay. We have 4 that we're going to cover here. And remember, extra credit points if you can use a vocabulary word in a sentence and type it in the chat. All right. Okay. Kubla Khan was very interested in science. He built a tall building in the Imperial city as an observatory. All right, our first word. Maybe you guys have been to observatory before. So an observatory is a building or room used to study the weather or astronomy. So Kubla Khan built an observatory in the Imperial city. Thanks, Scotland, for helping everybody try to follow along. That's good. He also invited a famous astronomer from Persia to Dadu. And what is an astronomer, class? Do you know what what an astronomer is, Josh? Well, if you look to the right, you can see it. An astronomer is a scientist who studies the stars, the planets, and other features of outer space. So the astronomer brought instruments for observing the sun, moon, stars, and planets. He also brought a very special gift to Kubla Khan. For a long time, the astronomer had made careful observations of the movements of the heavenly bodies. Now, what is that? What's a heavenly body, Chloe? Well, if we look to the right, we can read what a heavenly body is. Heavenly bodies are objects found in the sky, such as planets or stars. So he used these observations to calculate a new, accurate calendar, which he gave to Kubla Khan. The Chinese called it the calendar of 10,000 years. All right, this last paragraph, and then we have one question, all right? One question from these first few readings that we had, first few paragraphs that we've read. Okay. Actually, let's ask the question right now. Question 1. Okay. Question 1 is, how would you describe Kubla Khan's surroundings in the Imperial City? So we've just read about that. How would you describe Kubla Khan's surroundings in the Imperial City? Can you answer that, Kiara, or Chloe, or Scotland? What was Kubla Khan's surroundings like in the Imperial City? What did he have built in the Imperial City? And he had people go and grab something from Mongolia and bring it back. And then what mechanical animal was in his grand hall? That's what it's called, grand hall. Yeah, so he had an astronomer come that was there in the Imperial City. That's good, Scotland. Tiger, good job, Chloe. Yep, he had mechanical tigers. Josh is looking up question 1. Yeah, he had mechanical tigers. He was also surrounded by 12,000 bodyguards. The 12,000 horsemen protected the Khan's family. They built yurts, built huge yurts, and then they had, he had men go up to Mongolia to collect the grass, and they had the grass planted in the emperor's palace. He built the observatory where the astronomer was, that Scotland brought up. Good job, guys. That was good. All right. Let's continue. We will have 2 questions. Question 2 and question 3 will come from these next couple sections that we're going to read. The last little bit of page 60 all the way to page 62. All right. So 2 more questions. Question 2 and question 3. All righty. The postal system. Now pay attention, guys, right now. This is going to help you answer the big question. If you can't remember what the big question is, you can use the chat command and type it in the chat and it will remind you. So the postal system is one of Kubla Khan's greatest achievements. The postal system. One of Kubla Khan's greatest achievements was the creation of the postal system. Kubla Khan wanted to keep tight control of the country, so he needed to be able to send and receive information quickly. He ordered that new roads in more than 1,400 or 1,400 postal stations be built throughout China. From one station to the next, horsemen galloped at top speed, carrying mail pouches. They had strands of bells wrapped around their bodies so they made a loud noise as they sped down the roads. Other travelers had to get out of their way. As the rider approached a postal stop, the men inside the station would hear the bells and quickly get a fresh horse ready. The mail carrier would then jump onto the new horse and head for the next station. On a good day, a message might travel 250 miles. 50,000 horses were used in this postal system. Yeah, so that's a lot. Sorry, I'm looking at yours in chat. It looks like, are you looking to ask what the big question is, Kira? You type exclamation point, the big question, all one word. And that should pull it up for you. Yeah, it is a lot of horses, a lot of postal stations, a lot of riders. It is a big deal, and they covered a lot of ground just in one day. All right, so let's continue to read about and learn about Marco Polo, and then we'll have our next two questions. All right, so let's follow along. Marco Polo. The government allowed foreign travelers and merchants to stay at the postal stations, which were a little like hotels. One foreigner from Europe who became famous for his visit to China was an Italian named Marco Polo. Around 1300, he wrote a very popular book that described the wonders of China in Kubla Khan's time. Polo said that Kubla Khan's palace was the greatest and most wonderful that ever was seen. He claimed it had 400 rooms with a dining hall where 6,000 people could sit down for a banquet. Polo was amazed at the decorations. He wrote that gold and silver covered all the walls, along with gorgeous carvings of lions and dragons. Paintings of war scenes also hung on the walls. Near the palace stood the Khan's treasure houses, holding gold, silver, precious stones, and pearls. So that's a little bit about Kubla Khan. I can answer that question after Chloe, so let you know. At the end, we can go over the big question because I was late. Yep, that's fine. All right, guys, let's focus. Yep, thanks, Chloe. Thanks for your understanding. We can talk about that after the lesson. This lesson's a little bit short, all right, guys? We only have 2 more pages, guys, just 2 more pages. So let's stay focused. Let's get ready to answer the next 2 questions, questions 2 and 3. And then we'll finish this and have 1 more question. I think there's just 4 questions, yep. So question 4, and then we'll talk about the big question, and then I will give you guys a chance to ask me questions or talk amongst each other. So we just read about Marco Polo in the book that he wrote about Kubla Khan's palace and the time and about that time of Kubla Khan. Let's look at this picture on page 61 and let's read its caption. So it says, there are many tales and paintings that tell of Marco Polo's meeting with Kubla Khan. The truth is, we don't really know for sure that Marco Polo met Kubla Khan, though we do know Marco Polo spent many years in China. So Marco Polo came from Europe and visited China during Kubla Khan's time and wrote a famous book. Okay. 1 more section and then we'll have the next 2 questions. As time went on, the government needed more and more money. Kubla Khan hired foreign officials to think of new ways to tax the people. And maybe you guys have heard of taxes, but this is our next vocabulary word. So what is a tax, Kiara? If we look here to the right, we can learn what a tax is. A tax is to require people to pay money or goods to support the workings of the government. And so as I earn money as a teacher, I pay taxes to help support our government. So continue on, let's continue to read, let's follow along. The Chinese hated these taxes. It made them especially angry to have foreigners in charge of the taxes. One of the foreign tax ministers was particularly evil. Some people believe Kubla Khan had been bewitched by this man's spells. Chinese officials working in the palace plotted against him. One night they lured him out of his house and killed him. But what would they tell Kubla Khan? Advisors convinced the Khan that the tax minister had been stealing from him. Angry, Kubocon ordered the foreigner's body to be hung in the marketplace for all to see. I know that there's people today that want to do that to people that collect taxes. They aren't very happy all the time to pay taxes. Though the Chinese did not like it, Kubla Khan kept raising taxes anyway. He had to. He needed money to pay for his palace, his officials, and his luxurious way of life. He was also fighting wars in far-off places, and those wars cost a lot of money. In earlier times, the Mongols had won almost every war, but now they were losing battles. They tried to conquer the Vietnamese people, who fought so bravely that the Mongols had to give up. The Mongols also tried to invade Japan. Their invasion became one of the most famous events in all of history. Kubla Khan sent a huge fleet of ships to land on Japan. A powerful typhoon suddenly started when the ships were at sea. The high winds and waves completely destroyed the Mongol fleet. The Japanese believed that the typhoon had been sent on purpose by their gods to destroy the Mongols and save Japan. They called the typhoon Kamikaze, or the divine wind, because they thought it came from heaven. These defeats made the Chinese realize that the Mongols were not unbeatable. Some Chinese took up arms and revolted against Kubla Khan. When Kubla Khan's army put down these revolts, the Chinese people grew even more resentful. Okay, so before we read the last section, let's answer the next 3 questions, all right? Question 2, question 3, and question 4. And you can use the chat command to put them in the chat. And I will read them right now also. And let's see you guys answer these questions, all right? Josh, Scotland, Caden, Kara. All right, question 2 is, what were some positive changes that Kubla Khan made in China? What were some good things that Kubla Khan did in China? What did he have built? That's a hint. What did Kubla Khan have built? Remember, it required a lot of a certain animal and a lot of people, and they would cover many miles every day to deliver something. And then he built a big building in his Imperial palace to help create something new, or to update something. Nice. That's right, Chloe. The Postal Service. That's perfect. Yep. That covers the big question, right? And that was one of his greatest achievements, was the Postal Service, the postal system to deliver messages throughout China. And then what did he build? You said I can't see you, Josh? You should be able to see me. Remember, he brought in a certain kind of scientist to help create what? Or to create a more accurate what? He built an observatory and put a new, more accurate calendar in place. Right? Because the astronomer looked at the stars. Okay, question 3. Certain animals. Yeah, remember they had horses. They had a bunch of horses to help with the postal system. They had a lot of people and a lot of horses to travel the many miles every single day to deliver messages, Scotland. Okay, so question 3 is, what do we know about Marco Polo and his travels in China? Remember, Marco Polo traveled from Europe to China during Kubla Khan's time. What do we know about Marco Polo and his travels in China? Whoops. Yep, so he traveled from Europe to China. And what did he do while he was in China? Did he paint a picture? What did he do? So we're on question 3, Kara. Just let you know. Yeah, he wrote a book and described the wonders of China during Kubla Khan's time. That's right, Chloe. And he talked about how Kubla Khan's palace was the most wonderful thing that was ever seen, and how big it was. And we're not for sure if Kubla Khan and Marco Polo ever met. But he was there during China. All right. Now let's answer question 4. And this is our last question for today. All right. So what was unusual about the Mongols' invasions of Japan and the region now called Vietnam? That's question 4. Question 4. What was unusual about the Mongols' invasions of Japan and the region now called Vietnam? My stream is a little glitchy. It might be on your end because mine says excellent connection. I'm not for sure. If it's glitchy, I'm sorry. Okay, so remember the Mongols tried to invade Japan. Their invasion became one of the most famous events in all of history. Remember there was something called a typhoon, a windy storm with heavy rain and a hurricane, and they called the Japanese called this typhoon kamikaze, or the divine wind. So even though the Mongols were fearsome and excellent warriors, they were getting beaten back by the Japanese and by this typhoon. And because people used to think the Mongols were unbeatable, but now they're being beaten, people started to revolt and turn against the Mongols. Good job, guys. All right, so last little section is a famous name. As he grew older, Kubla Khan grew very sad. So let's follow along right here. Sorry, I should have said that at the beginning. Let's follow along right here. A famous name. As he grew older, Kubla Khan was very sad. His wife died, and then his favorite son, who was next in line to become emperor. He died as well. Kubla Khan became ill. Still, he did not die until he was 80 years old. Like his grandfather, Genghis Khan, Kubla Khan was buried in a secret place. Even today, no one knows where Kubla Khan is buried. Okay, guys, well, that is it. That is chapter 8. Let's recap our big question. What is our big question? All right, here's our big question right here. Why might the development of the Postal Service have been considered one of Kubla Khan's greatest achievements? Now, Kubla Khan was a Mongol, and they were fearsome warriors. So why would you think that Postal Service would be one of his greatest achievements? So that's your big question. Get ready to answer that for your discussion post. It should already be posted so you can answer. But that is it. That is our lesson for today. Thanks, guys, for coming in. Scotland, Kiara, Josh, Caden. Yep, I can answer my question. So my channel is just my name, Greg Gowdy. That is my gaming channel. Yep. I could probably... It's also, I used to be a videographer, an editor. I still kind of edit on the side, and so that's what some of that stuff is. But there's my channel. So you'll see some mostly Overwatch stuff was a game that I played. You'll see that I filmed sports like football, golf, lacrosse, weightlifting. Those are some of the things that I filmed. So can I explain a little bit more about the big question? Yes, for sure. So the big question, why might the development of the Postal Service have been considered one of Kubla Khan's greatest achievements? Now, we talked about his imperial city, his imperial palace, and how awesome it was, but that wasn't a great accomplishment. Let's think about why the postal system would be the greatest accomplishment. Well, having things is maybe a sign that you've accomplished something, but just because you have something doesn't mean you have accomplished or are accomplishing something, right? So having his big palace doesn't mean he accomplished something great. Being a great warrior is a good accomplishment, right? They were able to protect themselves and take over land. But let's think about the longevity of this, right? How lasting something like the postal system is. Is the postal system still used today? Looks like Chloe might be heading out. That's fine. Yeah, you guys can head out if you need to. So Scotland, is the postal system still used today, or a postal system? Yeah. So that's part of the reason why it's such a great accomplishment, right? He created this postal system that helped connect China even more, right? Because messages were able to travel over 250 miles a day, okay, to be able to share messages. But it's something that has been used today still. So this was the beginning of postal systems, to be able to share messages, deliver packages. Began with the postal system. So that should help you with your big question. Yep, perfect, Scotland. That's perfect. Yeah, my chat might be slow. I tried to use a lower latency stream today so that I can see your chat and react to it quicker, because sometimes in the past you guys are about 20 to 30 seconds behind what I'm actually saying. So I'll say something and then 20 or 30 seconds later you'll actually hear it. So I was trying to shorten that latency or lag, and so maybe that's why things are a little glitchy or slow today. So still learning how to figure this out. But if you guys don't have any other questions, we'll end the stream and be able to get on with our day, getting work done, getting ready for tomorrow, and finishing the week strong. And really importantly, finishing the quarter strong, getting all caught up with our work. Thank you, Scotland. Glad you came in. It was awesome having you here. Thanks, Josh. Thanks, Kiara. Kaden was here, which was awesome. It was so good having you here. Those that are watching the replay, hope you enjoyed learning a little bit more about China. Okay, well, if that's it, thanks for coming in. I have to do taxes when I get candy. Do your parents or siblings or family members take some of your candy? They take about, a small percentage of it? All right, guys. Well, I'm gonna end the stream. It was good having you here. Seriously, it was awesome. Have a good rest of the day. Get caught up. Let me know if you have any questions. Yeah, thank you, Scotland. Thanks, Caden. Thanks, Josh. Thanks, Kira. You guys are awesome. And I will see you guys later.